The boy fled forward in a panic. Behind him was a ferocious alien robot that he rushed to climb a tall tree. Luckily, the robot only has the lower half of its body, so it couldn't get up the tree. The boy wondered.
How can you see me?
He moved backwards in fear. Behind him, a mechanical arm stretched out. It was the upper half of the robot. The upper half of his body had 4 mechanical hands. It's got 4 robotic hands, and it's flailing around. Fortunately, it was stuck in the trunk of the tree. The boy on the other end could not be harmed. The 2 men were at a standstill until late at night. At this time, an alien butterfly floated in. It landed on the robot's hand. Looking at this colorful creature, the robot suddenly became gentle. The light on its face changed as the butterfly changed. The boy on the side watched carefully. At that moment, the light on the robot's face suddenly dimmed. The lower half of the body under the tree was also a little unsteady. The boy guessed that it must have been separated from its body for too long. The energy cannot be exchanged.
It's dying. Aren't you?
Suddenly there was a flash of fire all around. When the boy reacted, the flames had surrounded him. The boy continued to climb, but he couldn't get up.
And I can't get out.
The boy was completely desperate. Looking at the robot in front of him, he made a big decision.
So Clinton, you're dying too.
You don't have to die too. He took out a steel rope and pulled it back and forth along the fracture of the tree trunk. Before the robot could react, it fell down. After saving the robot, the boy leaned against the tree and waited for death to come. Suddenly, he heard a sound under the tree. The robot jumped up the tree, picked up the boy. He leapt out of the fire with a single leap. It seems that the robot also knows how to return the favor. And just a month ago, the boy's family was still celebrating Christmas on Earth. Then the TV showed the news that a huge meteorite is about to hit the Earth. The government launched an emergency plan to colonize the planet. The mother uses her position at NASA too. The family was selected. On the eve of the fall of the meteorite, they boarded a spaceship. They went to the universe to find a planet suitable for living. On this day, they were playing poker on the spacecraft. Then an accident happened. A huge wreckage of the ship came towards them. The huge impact made them deviate from the course. The ship shook violently. The ship kept falling. The family could only hold each other's hands and pray silently. Luckily, they landed safely. But before they could rejoice, an iron box hit their mother's leg. In a panic, they carried their mother out of the cabin. They heard a sound of breaking ice just as they stepped out. The ship sank slowly. The water kept pouring in. Their ship sank with all the supplies submerged in ice water. What kind of planet is this? The boy climbed towards the top of the mountain. The scene in front of him shocked the boy that this is not the South Pole, but a planet full of icebergs. Looking up, the other surviving ships were still heading deeper into the universe, looking for a planet suitable for survival. The first thing we need is to treat our mother's leg injury, but the medical equipment is all on board. The oxygen in the suits was only good for 6 hours. There was nothing they could do. Could they just wait to die? That's when the mother made a big decision. We haven't tested the atmosphere yet. It turns out the wife noticed her husband's suit was torn. It seems the planet has enough oxygen. The family takes off their helmets and breathed in the fresh air of a strange planet. But 6 hours later, the sun is going down. The temperature will reach minus 50 degrees. Spacesuit battery life is only 5 hours. After the power is gone, they will be frozen alive into ice sculptures. At this point, my father came up with a solution. That is to go into the water into the cabin to get the battery. But at the moment, the father's suit has been torn. His wife's leg was broken. The only thing he could count on was his 3 terrified children. The father grabbed his 9-year-old son. He was the smallest, just enough to get in through the top of the ship. He took the spare batteries. The boy was confused and a little overwhelmed. The older sister saw that her brother was scared. When no one was looking, she put on her space suit and jumped into the lake. The sister went the long way around and entered the cabin from the other side. The temperature continued to drop, and in a short time all the water would freeze. But she got the batteries. But when I looked around, the water had already started to become sticky. The lake's surface was freezing at a speed visible to the naked eye. My sister had the big battery in her hand, seriously affecting her floating speed. She was about to get out, but at the last moment, she was still frozen in the frozen lake, looking at the daughter in the lake for help. The family was at their wits' end, but the suit was still good for 5 hours. In those 5 hours, they had to save their sister. Dad took out a pocket knife. He started to smash the ice, and only dug this much in half an hour.
You're almost human.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
I'm almost there. Dad could only comfort his daughter. Just then, the iceberg in the distance emitted a white flame. The clever boy thought of something. He told his father that the wreckage of the plane must have cut through a whole vein of ore, and inside the vein there happened to
Vein of what?
Magnesium? Magnesium burns hot. But you know what makes it burn hotter? Ice.
burn hotter? Ice. With the youngest son's reminder, father decided to leave the camp. He grabbed his tools and took his youngest son to the vein. They crossed a mountain of ice. Finally they arrived at their destination. Man used his knife to pry a chunk of magnesium ore from the wet rock face. He had to be careful that the magnesium can react with water too, releasing hydrogen gas. The concentration of hydrogen gas in the cave is now 80,000 times higher than normal air. A small spark could set off the entire mountain range. Suddenly, there is a loud bang behind us. The cave collapsed. The son slid down the ice hole. Fortunately, the son was not seriously injured. He got up and saw that there was a forest here. It was like a paradise. The boy turned around and looked at the height. Should not be able to climb back. He used his communicator to tell his father that here is very safe. You go back to save your sister first. I'll find out if there is food here. Seeing that his son was so understanding, the father was relieved to leave, but he didn't know that his son's bravery was all an act.
I'll be fine.
Just then, a fire caught his attention. The boy rushed to pick up his communicator to call his father, but no one answered. It seemed to have gone far away. Curious, he followed the fire through the forest. In the depths of the forest, he found the wreckage of another plane. Looking at the appearance, it was obvious that it was not built by humans. Then suddenly he heard a sound behind him. The boy looked at it and saw an alien robot with only 2 legs was coming towards him. In a panic to escape, the boy was caught in the fire. Before he died, he saved the upper half of the robot, and the robot merged successfully and carried the boy out of the fire. After rescuing the boy, the robot transformed into a humanoid form. He got down on one knee. The boy placed his hand on the robot's shoulder, just like a knight's ordination ceremony in ancient times. On the other hand, the father rushed back to the base. He put the collected magnesium blocks into the smashed ice pit. Then he lit a fire. The magnesium block burned violently. After a blinding white light, the ice surface burned a hole. The girl's hand was exposed. Hope is at hand. Suddenly, thunder and lightning. The wind became stronger. The sky was raining heavily. The hole they had dug was frozen again. Father's lighter didn't work either.
Don't talk. Just don't talk.
Dad! Right here.
It was in this moment of desperation that youngest son returned with the robot. At the boy's request, the robot pressed its hands against the hole. It emits a heat light, like a small sun. It melted the ice in one fell swoop. Fortunately, the sister was still alive. Then the robot turned into a baby warmer, let the boy's family through the cold dark night. However, the family did not realize that danger was creeping in. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this on Recap Next.